As Donald Trump continues to wage war against Iran today, he's put his own supporters in the impossible position of trying to reconcile what Trump said when he was pandering for votes and what he's doing now that he actually has power. And there are two camps here. One camp of people who are proving that they stand for nothing other than blind loyalty to the God King, and another camp of people who are waking up to that reality. Joss, you will be shocked to learn that one of those lists is much longer than the other. Let's start with J.D. Vance, who wrote in 2023 that Trump's best foreign policy was not starting any wars. Yet today, happily, he retweeted a picture of himself in the Situation Room starting a war. Back in 2024, Nikki Haley said this:
"Because I am confident that his first task will be to do the work to walk us back from the brink of war. We cannot be prosperous unless we are at peace."
Just months ago, Pete Hegseth said this:
"The War Department will not be distracted by democracy building, interventionism, undefined wars, regime change, climate change, woke moralizing, and feckless nation building."
In 2024, Stephen Miller wrote, Stephen Miller, 2024, "Kamala will send your sons to war." And yet today, he giddily retweeted Trump's speech where he said this: Donald Trump, 2024.
"The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran."
Where have I heard that one before? Donald Trump, 2011.
"Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make."
And of course, don't forget, it came right from the horse's mouth. This is from 2011. Donald Trump, 2011.
"Unfortunately, we have a president that doesn't know the first thing about negotiation. We have a real problem in the White House. So, I believe that he will attack Iran sometime prior to the election because he thinks that's the only way he can get elected. Isn't it pathetic?"
This is from 2012. Donald Trump, 2012.
This is from 2012.
You know, I've said before, I think Obama will go to war with Iran because I think he views it as good politically, and that's pretty sad, and it's a pretty sad thing to have to say, but I think he will absolutely go to war with Iran. I think he views that as a positive from a political standpoint, and I think he's just waiting for the right moment, and I think Iran better be damn careful because they are overplaying their hand just like Gaddafi and just like Saddam Hussein.
Trump continues to predict a war with Iran, claiming, if Iran isn't negotiating now, they're crazy. And of course, his contradictory words in 2024, Donald Trump, 2024.
"We don't want to see wars. I don't want to see wars. I was in no wars other than we finished a war with ISIS and we completed it, 100% complete. But I don't want to see wars. I think it's so horrible, so unnecessary, so costly in terms of lives and money in that order. And destroying these countries, you know, you're destroying culture. When you look at Ukraine, that would have never happened if I were president. You look at the October 7th attack on Israel, it would have never happened. I will tell you, you're not going to have a war with me, and you're not going to have a third world war with me. That I can tell you.
But then, there are those waking up to the reality of what they helped usher in. Take Marjorie Taylor Greene, who wrote, "We said no more foreign wars, no more regime change. We said it on rally stage after rally stage, speech after speech." Trump, Vance. Basically, the entire admin campaigned on it and promised to put America first and make America great again. My generation has been let down, abused, and used by our government our entire adult lives. Some in our children's generation is literally being abandoned. Yet, for every one of her, there are 1,000 people like Cat Turd who wrote last summer, "There would be no war if Trump was president," and now writes, "Just watching this with a bunch of fire emojis." It's hard to recognize the con. Trump campaigned expressly on being the peace president. He even won the FIFA Peace Prize, which is ironic, considering how easily that prize is handed out. And the hypocrisy could not be more staggering. But let's be clear, Donald Trump has proven that he will say anything and everything to get elected. And then once he has power, he turns around and does the polar opposite. He promised to lower prices. and yet prices are surging. He promised to protect earned benefits, and yet he's gutted Medicaid, weakened Social Security, and cut ACA subsidies. He promised to bring down inflation, and the latest report shows inflation rising. And the Epstein files were supposed to be released, but instead, he's engaged in a government-wide cover-up to suppress them. This is a recurring theme for Trump. He will say anything to get elected, but once in power, he exposes the fact that he stands for nothing. When you support someone who doesn't stand for anything, you shouldn't be surprised when he exposes the fact that you don't stand for anything either. This version rephrases the content as a speech by Christopher Reynolds while keeping the quotes from Donald Trump separated to emphasize their contradiction and hypocrisy. So, what does all of this mean for us now? Donald Trump has once again shown his willingness to manipulate any situation for his personal gain. In the case of this military escalation with Iran, it's clear that he's not doing this for national security or global peace. Instead, it's about one thing: power. The reasoning behind his actions, as we've seen, isn't about protecting Americans or promoting democracy abroad. It's about using war as a distraction to further his own political agenda. As a man who thrives on chaos and media attention, Trump is once again tapping into the oldest playbook in politics: wag the dog. When things at home start spiraling, it's time to shift the focus. And what better way to do that than by creating a war overseas? The longer the media and the public focus on the conflict abroad, the less attention will be paid to his domestic failures. This time, it's about two birds with one stone. He can push his narrative that Iran interfered in the 2020 or 2024 elections, playing into his personal vendetta against the foreign interference claims. At the same time, he can justify extraordinary executive powers to interfere with the 2026 elections and beyond. It's not just an attack on Iran, it's an attack on our electoral system. Now, let's break down the hypocrisy once again. Trump has continually said that he was the peace candidate, the man who would end foreign wars. In fact, one of his most well-known slogans was "America First," which supposedly meant staying out of conflicts abroad and focusing on the well-being of the American people. But now we're seeing the exact opposite. He's pushing us into another war. And not just any war. This one is justified by a conspiracy theory. We're not talking about genuine national security concerns. We're talking about a dangerous and calculated move to maintain control of the narrative. Well, this is a man who built his career on making promises that he has no intention of keeping. He promised to lower costs, and yet inflation continues to rise. He promised to protect earned benefits, yet he's gutted Medicaid and Social Security. He promised to end foreign interventions, yet here we are, sending military forces to the Middle East once again. So, what's really going on behind the scenes? Trump's latest actions are not about securing the future of this country or about making the world a safer place. This is a man who is desperate to remain relevant, who will do anything to distract from his mounting scandals and failures. By using the narrative of war, he hopes to rally his base, keep his name in the headlines, and cast doubt on the legitimacy of future elections. In his mind, war is the perfect smokescreen to further his own political ends. But here's the second reason why Trump wants this war with Iran. It's not just about Iran. It's about leveraging the war to legitimize his claims of election interference. He will use the narrative that Iran meddled in the 2020 or 2024 elections as justification to seize even more power. If Trump's narrative about Iran is allowed to take root, he'll be able to claim that the national security emergency requires sweeping changes to election laws. And these changes would allow him to manipulate the rules to his advantage in future elections, particularly in 2026. And if you think this is some wild theory, think again. This week, reports surfaced about a memo being circulated within the White House. This memo proposes an executive order that could give Trump the authority to suspend or alter election rules. A memo that claims, under certain emergency powers, Trump could disrupt voting processes, ban mail-in ballots, or change the way elections are conducted. These powers aren't rooted in any legal precedent. They're based on the twisted interpretation of federal laws, particularly the National Emergencies Act and the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the same statute he used to justify tariffs, a decision that the Supreme Court deemed unconstitutional. So, what makes Trump think he has the authority to alter elections under these same laws? Yet the answer is simple. He doesn't care about legality or the Constitution. He just wants the power. I know this sounds far-fetched, but we need to take it seriously. These memos are not just crackpot theories. The media might be giving it credence, and that's exactly what's so troubling. The Washington Post, which is a credible source, recently reported on this potential executive order with the headline, "Activists who say they are in coordination with the White House are circulating a draft executive order that would unlock extraordinary presidential power over voting." And that's where we should pause and ask ourselves, extraordinary power over voting? No, it's not about unlocking power. It's about fabricating an authoritarian takeover. Trump's proposal is a direct violation of our Constitution, an attempt to undermine the very core of our democracy. We can't allow this to happen. Now, what makes this even more concerning is that if this moves forward, we could be looking at a situation where Trump tries to seize control of elections, and anyone who opposes him could be labeled an enemy of national security. And while we might think that these actions are out of his reach, the fact that they are being circulated within the White House should make us all nervous, when the very foundation of our electoral process is at risk. But let's be clear, if Trump tries to push this through, I'll be there, fighting against it. Along with my legal team, I'll be challenging any attempt to interfere with our elections. We won't let him get away with this. However, it's not just about us in the legal field. It's about every single one of us standing up and protecting the democratic values that this country was built on. So, what do we do now? First, we need to stay informed. This is a battle for the future of our democracy. Don't let this situation slip under the radar. Trump's actions are dangerous, and the more we educate ourselves and others, the better prepared we will be to prevent him from seizing more power. We must continue to call out these power grabs. We can't afford to sit idly by and let history repeat itself. If we let this slide, it'll be too late. This is the time to act. And trust me, this isn't just a warning, it's a call to action. We need to protect our democracy, and we need to do it now. If you found this analysis useful, make sure to subscribe and support independent media. The more we expose these truths, the better chance we have at protecting the democracy we hold dear. The link to subscribe is right here. And don't forget, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly, should the need arise. Stay informed, stay vigilant,